Hello, welcome. I'm Andreas, your tech-curious web designer. In this tutorial, we will add the sidebar to our homepage, which will have a drawer with a slick sliding animation using AlpineJS and TailwindCSS. But before we get started, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, click the bell icon, and add a comment in the section below. That would help immensely with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my Patreon page and get access to exclusive content. I really appreciate you. Okay, and now let's start coding. A big thank you to all my supporters on Patreon, buymeacoffee.com and on YouTube. First, a quick demo what we're going to build. In the last video, we created the main section of this page. And now let's build the sidebar. As first, we have a search field. It is actually just a button, and when clicking on it, a drawer slides out with the input field. And we can add our search query here. Then we can clear the search query and close this panel. Then we have different navigation buttons here. So for you is the home page, explore, following, friends, upload, activity, messages, profile, and a more button. So if I click on more, another panel opens up. Here we have a dark mode link, we have a settings link and logout. And we're clicking on a dark mode. And on this page we can switch between dark mode and light mode. We can go back to the previous panel. And by clicking outside, I close the whole drawer. Alright, and all this is done with AlpineJS without writing any custom JavaScript code. Let's get to it. We created this home.html file in the last video, but if you want to just grab the code, visit my Patreon page. Here let's go to the sidebar element. It has the aside tag, and as first I add a z-index to it, so it's tagged on top of the main section. A z-index of 20. In this sidebar we only have the logo at the moment. We can give this element the ID logo. But this sidebar will also host a drawer we will add later, so I move the logo into a nav element, where typically the navigation items live. I give it the relative class. We might want to position something absolute inside, height full, and background white. And because we define the background color now in this element, we can delete it from the aside element. Alright. And under the logo, I create now a new container for the search button. And give it a left and right padding of 4. This search button has an icon. And this icon you can grab from my GitHub repository at github.com/andyjudd/tiktok-clone. So here we go to the icons. And here we have the search icon. I grab the code and paste it in here. Then I define a size for this icon, size 5. And I also add the flex shrink 0 class. This class prevents an element from shrinking when inside a flex container, because as the name suggests, flex containers are flexible and the elements could change in size. I give the parent the flex class with item center and cursor pointer. And next to the icon we have the search text. Okay. Let's have a look. Here we have the element with the icon. Let's style it now. First let's style the button. We have here full width. Height is 10. With a background color neutral of 100. Fully rounded corners. And padding left of 2.5. Now the search text. I give it a margin left of 2, text small, a color of neutral 400. We hide it on mobile screens, but show it on large screen sizes. And to have a bit of space, I apply a margin bottom of 3 to the logo element. Okay, let's have a look. And here we have our search button. Nice. Now let's add the rest of the navigation buttons. So under the search button here, I add a container for the navigation links. I apply a flex call and gap 1.5 class to space them out vertically. And apply a padding top and bottom of 3. Then this is gonna be our home button with full width, height of 10, medium rounded corners. Then on hover we have a light gray. Then flex with item center, a padding left to right of 1, and also cursor pointer. Then we add the icon. The icon you can again grab from my GitHub repository. I grab here the home icon. Then I give it some styling. Size 8. Again the flex shrink 0 class. And a fill color of rose 500. This is the highlight color for the page the user is on. Then next to the icon we have the text. I give the text a margin left of 3, medium font, a color of rose 500, again hidden on mobile view, and visible on large screen sizes. Alright, save this file, let's check it out. Nice, and we got our home button. Now let's carry on. Before I add the next button, I will just move all the classes we used for the button to the style sheet and create a custom class for it to make this file a bit cleaner. So I copy the classes, go to my style sheet in the head. I create here the button-nav class, add the apply directive, and paste the classes in here. Okay, and now we can use this class. So I go to my home button and use this class instead. And now we can also get rid of these classes here and add them to the style sheet. And here I'm applying them on the span element inside the button-nav class. However, as the text color is only used for the highlight, I add it back to the element directly. Alright, like this. Now let's create the other buttons. So I copy this button element. This is our explore button. I get rid of the fill color here. And also the highlight color on the text. Change the icon. And have explore as the text. And there we have our explore button. Great. Then the next one. I copy again the button. This is for the following link, the text, and the icon. Then copy the button. Then we have friends. And change the icon. The next button is for upload. Text upload. And the upload icon. Then we have activity. And change the icon. Then we have messages. Then the next one we have profile. Here instead of the icon with the profile image. So this is the path to the avatar image. Then I give this image full width and full height. Object cover, so it's not distorted. And object center. Then I add fully rounded to the parent container. Size 7. And overflow hidden. Okay, then we have one more button. So I copy the message button. And this is the button for the more link. And add the more icon. Alright, let's save this file and let's check it out. Alright, nice. We have now the full navigation. Now let's add the footer here. So underneath the container for the buttons, I add the container for the footer. We have, for example, the copyright here. Let's add some classes. A gray font and very small text. Then I give this element a padding top and bottom of 4. I add a top border of 1 pixel, a neutral to 100 border color, and this element is hidden on mobile and visible on large screen sizes. Okay. And there we have our footer. Great. Next, let's add the drawer when I click on the search button. So under the nav element, I add here the side drawer element. I want it to be fixed, left of 18. This is exactly the width of the sidebar on mobile screens. Top of 0, a width of 80. Full height, a border left and a border right with a neutral to 100 color, and I give it a white background. And I add a H2 header for the content and give it a left padding of 2. Let's add a H2 styling to the style sheet. The same as the H1, just in the text size of 1.2 rem. Okay, let's have a look. And there we have the panel for the drawer. Nice. Next, let's make this panel slide out from the left. First, let's add the state of the drawer. So I add the data directive to the body element and set here the show drawer variable initially to false. Then I go to my search button and add here the click event, where I add the show drawer toggle to show or hide the drawer. Okay, then I go to the side drawer element and add here the x-show directive. So if show drawer is true, this element will be shown. I also add x-cloak to avoid the blinking at the very start. Let's test this. Okay, this works. Now I add the sliding animation. So on the side drawer element, I will add now some AlpineJS directives to create the sliding. The transition directive is used to apply transitions and animations to elements when they are shown or hidden. With enter we define classes to apply during the entrance animation of the element. So add here the transition class, a duration of 300, and the ease out animation, which makes the element start fast and end slow. Then we define the classes at the very start of the animation. With the -translate x full class, I position the element at the start fully to the left of its own width, and I give it also the opacity of 0. And then we define the classes at the end of the animation. We translate x0, we put the element back in its original horizontal position with opacity 100. So these are the directives for the sliding in. Now let's add the ones for the sliding out. With leave we define the classes for the exit. Again the transition class. This time the duration is only 200. With the ease in animation. Then we have leave start. We start at the original position and at opacity 100. And the end position. Here again minus translate x full and the opacity of 0. Alright, let's check it out. I click on the search button. Nice. As we can see, the panel slides smoothly in and out. As next, let's have the sidebar collapse when a drawer is out. Let's start with the logo. So I want to hide the logo when the drawer is out. Here I'm using Alpine's class directive. This colon class is a shorthand for x-bind colon class. With the exclamation mark, I make the hidden class important. And show the icon when the drawer is out. Okay, let's test this. And as we can see, when the drawer is out, we see the icon. Now let's fix the other elements. First, let's collapse the whole aside element. So add here the class directive. If show drawer is true, we have a width of 18. And then on the elements, I just hide the text. Okay, let's check it out. I click on search and we only see the icon. I also want to move the drawer behind the navigation bar because it should slide out from below. For this I add a Z index of 10 to the navigation element, so it stacks on top of the drawer. And yes, the drawer is now behind the navigation. We can also make the navigation element animated when collapsing. I will add a transition class to the aside element. Transition all, duration of 300, and ease in out. And now we have a nice animation. However, we can see that the logo is resizing as well. Let's fix this. We can apply the width max class, which makes the element as wide as its content, or otherwise we could also declare the exact width of the logo. And now because we define a width, the logo is not more scaling. I also want to prevent the text from floating to a new line, as we can see here with for you. For this I'm going to my span definition in the style sheet and add here the whitespace no wrap class. As we can see here, the for you stays now in place. Now let's hide the text when the drawer is out, and for this I will change the opacity of the elements. I add the animation classes transition and duration to the span element. And on the element I apply opacity of 0 when the drawer is out. And then I also add the class pointer events none. This prevents the button to be clickable when not visible. Alright. Then we also fix quickly the footer. Also here I add whitespace no wrap and hide it when the drawer is out. Okay, save this file. Now we click again on search. And now we have a nice fading out animation. And the link is disabled, even though the element is still here with opacity of 0. Now let's add the opacity to the rest of the links. So we have it on Explore, on Following, on friends, upload, activity, messages, profile, and more. Nice.
Nice.
Next, let's add the content for the drawer. So first add a container and move the header inside. Give it a padding left and right of 2 and top and bottom of 5. Then I give the heading a margin bottom of 7. And then I'm adding the input field for the search. Type is search, placeholder search. Then we give it full width, height of 10, with a light gray background, fully rounded, padding left of 4, small text, gray text color. Then we have an outline border on focus with a color of neutral 300. Alright, let's have a look. And there is our search field. Here we have the outline on focus. And when I write something in a field here, this default reset button appears. But let's create now our own custom button instead. So first we disable the default icon. So I go to my style sheet. And with this code, we disable this default icon. Let's add now our custom one. First I wrap this input field in a container. And give it the class relative. Then I add the icon. I copy the code for the clear search icon and paste it in here. Then I give it some styling, size 4, and a fill color of neutral 400. Then we style also the button, position absolute, right 4, top 3, with black text, and cursor pointer. Okay, there is our custom clear button. Now let's add the logic. For this I'm adding a search query variable. So I'm going to my body element here, add a comma, and add here the search query variable and set it to empty. Then on the input field here, I add the X model directive with this variable. This is adding the value from the input field to the search query variable. And now on the button here, I add the X show directive, so show this button only when search query has a value. And by clicking it, I set the value to empty again. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. So I type something inside, I click the button, and the input is empty again. Great. What is still missing on this panel is a close button. We add this close button just above the header, add the icon. Here we have the closed drawer icon. I give it a size of 4. Then when I click on this button, the show drawer is set to false. Then I position this close button absolute. The parent I give relative. Then I position it right 4, top 6, a size of 7, a light gray background color, a slightly darker gray on hovering, fully rounded. Then you have the icon completely in the center. I add flex, item center and justify center, and also give it cursor pointer. And there we go. Now let's also add the click event when I click outside the drawer. So I go here to the side drawer element and add here this click outside event, which sets show drawer to false. And now if I click outside here, it closes the drawer as well. Nice. Okay, our search is now finished. Now let's add the drawer when I click on more. So I go to my more button. And I also add here this click event, show and hide drawer. We have the drawer open, but it is showing again the search content. Let's define now variables to show different content in the drawer. I'm going to my body element. I add here the variable for show search to show and hide the search content, and also the content for the more panel. Then I go to my drawer, and on the search panel I add the show search directive, and then I'm adding the show more element with the show more directive. Then I copy again the classes, and add here h2. Alright, and now we modify the click event for the search and more button. So first I go to the search button. We can give this button also the ID of search. Then by clicking I open the drawer, then I add here a semicolon and set the show search variable to true. And the same now for the more button. Again a semicolon and set show more to true. Okay, save this file, let's test this. If I click search, I see the search. If I click more, I see search and more. And this is because both variables are true at the moment. We need to add also a reset logic for the variables. And for this I'm adding a reset function. So I'm adding this reset all function, which sets this show search variable to false, and also this show more variable to false. And now we can call this reset all function with the click event. For example, on the close button for the drawer. So here we have the drawer, and inside we have the search panel with the close button. And here in the click event, I add a semicolon and call the reset all function. And the same we can do when we click outside. So also here, semicolon and reset all. Okay, let's test this. Again, I click on search. I click the closing button. Then I click on more. And we have just more here now. Nice. Let's add now the content for this panel. I copy the close button from the search panel. Then add it inside the more panel. And then under the more header, we add some list items. So I add here the flex classes, flex call and a gap of 1 to space them out. Then I add here the dark mode button. This button has also an arrow icon on the right. I grab here the right arrow icon and paste it in here. Then I give it some classes. Size 4, and a fill of neutral 400. I give the text a medium font. And to the button element, I add a custom class buttonRounded. Let's define this class. I copy the nav button, call it buttonRounded, and instead of medium rounded, I have it rounded full. I also add justify between, which pushes the arrow icon to the right. And I also change padding left and right to 2. Alright. Save this file and let's check it out. I click on more. And there we have the dark mode button with an arrow icon on the right. Now let's add 2 more links in here. So I copy the li element. For this one we don't need an icon, so I get rid of the icon. And this is a link for settings. And another link for logout. Okay, we have dark mode, settings and logout. Now let's create another content panel for dark mode. So I add here another variable for show color modes and set it to false. Then I also add it to the reset all function. Then here I have my dark mode link. Let's add the click event. So when clicking it, I first want to reset all the variables. And then I set show color mode to true. And now let's add the show color modes panel. Here I add the show directive for show color modes. I give it a relative class, padding left and right of 2, and padding top and bottom of 5. Then I add a header with dark mode, and give it a padding left of 2. Alright, let's check it out. I click on more, then dark mode, and we have the dark mode panel. Nice! Next I will add a back button, so I can go back to the previous panel. So I add here container, and move the heading inside there. Add here the flex class with item center, then also margin bottom of 7, and a padding left of 2. Then I add this button, add the icon. Here we have the left arrow, and paste it in here. I give it a size of 3, and a fill color of neutral 700. Then we style the button, size 6, rounded full, background color neutral 100, with a darker gray on hover. Then I position the icon exactly in the center with flex, item center, justify center, and again cursor pointer. And then I add the click event. So first I reset all, and then set show more to true. Okay, save this file, let's check it out. So I click on more, here to dark mode. Here we have the back button now. I click on it, and I go back to more. Nice. Now let's add here the links for dark mode and light mode. I add a list item, and add here first the dark mode button. Alright, let's style it. I give it the font medium class, button rounded for the button element, and flex, flex col and gap for the vertical spacing. Okay, then I copy this li element and add here light mode. Okay, let's have a look. Click on dark mode. And now we have here dark mode and light mode. And now I also add a tick icon to the light mode to visualize which color mode is active. So I add here the icon. Here we have the tick icon. Copy the code, paste it in here. And I give it a size of 3.5. And there we go, light mode is active. Alright, and this is all for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. In the next one, we will implement dark mode to the site. So when I click the dark mode button here, we switch to dark mode and everything will be on black. And we can switch between light mode and dark mode. I hope to see you there. Until then, happy coding my friends, and bye bye for now.